Good morning. I want to say thank you to Jenna, who I've known for a lot of years, and for all the work that HRDC does to take care of people who find themselves houseless in a very expensive place. The longer I live, the more I recognize that nurturing an attitude of gratitude is the key to living from an open heart. That is, living in a spirit of joyful expectation. Gratitude begins with training in what we call manners, a learned response to being on the receiving end of a human transaction. Mrs. Smith just gave you a cookie, Janie. Now, what do you say? Despite the benefits of such thanks, they are contingent on someone doing something specific for us. And while many of us remain at this level of gratitude, our souls call out for us to move to a deeper level. Here we begin to discover gratitude apart from a specific human giver and acknowledge the gift of life itself. Here we begin to be appreciative of everything as teachers along our soul's path. This second level of gratitude is most often found through suffering, by choosing to get soft and wide rather than rigid and pointy under the yoke of life's difficulties. When we allow ourselves to be broken open by life rather than broken down by it, we begin to be grateful for the difficulties themselves. When we live from this place long enough, we begin actually to inhabit gratitude. Our very inhalation and exhalation, a breath of thanksgiving, no matter what is going on in our external world. All of us experience this spot in glimpses, moments in which we look up at the sky and see it for the work of art that it is, hear Beethoven's Ninth and feel the majestic surprise of such music in our lives. Feel our baby's pudgy fingers on our face and cry tears of thanks for her being. At each level of gratitude, our soul's capacity deepens. At the first level, we experience contentment. We wanted a cookie and we got it. At the second, we experience meaning. We're here for a purpose and are therefore grateful for all of life's lessons. At the third, we dwell in pure joy, the simple response of our heart to this given life in all its fullness. Gratitude is the key to transforming the world around us into a beautiful wonderland in which each of us are invited to play. And like most of our spiritual truths, gratitude is stunningly simple. Cookies and milk. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes for dinner. Sitting outside on a starry night, a puppy dog, the smell of cut grass, getting under the covers on a cold night, taking a walk with my best friend, watching the breeze rustle the curtains, breathing. The teenager who's not doing dishes but is watching TV because that means they are at home and not on the streets. To the mess to clean up after a party because it means that I've been surrounded by friends. To the clothes that fit a little too snug because it means I have enough to eat. For my shadow that watches me work because it means I'm in the sunshine. For the parking lot I find at the far end of the parking lot because it means I'm capable of walking and I've been blessed with transportation. That was a parking spot. For the lady behind me in church that sings off key because it means that I can hear. For the pile of laundry and ironing because it means I have clothes to wear. And for the alarm clock that goes off in the early morning hours because it means I'm alive. I do not mean to imply that this is an easy practice. All kinds of distractions and negative attitudes from our upbringings may get in the way. The important thing is to make a commitment to doing it, and the joy that it brings will be ours. Look at your family. Look at your friends, your home, your car, your town, your health, your job. The list is endless. It may not be all perfect at this moment, but what isn't perfect, you can change. If you can change it, you can get rid of it or move on, and at the very least, we can seek resources to learn how to live with it. We all have the opportunity at this time and in this place to make our lives exactly what we want them to be. If gratitude doesn't come naturally to you, work at it. Post reminders around your home and your car and your office until feeling grateful becomes a habit. You'll find, if you haven't already, there's a self-expansion aspect of gratitude. Very visibly, or very possibly, it's a little-known law of nature, that the more gratitude you have, the more you have to be grateful for. One of the incredible truths about gratitude is that it's impossible to feel both the positive emotion of thankfulness and a negative emotion such as anger or fear at the same time. Gratitude bursts only positive feelings: love, compassion, joy, hope, and trust. And as we focus on what we're thankful for, fear, anger, and bitterness seem to melt away. I remember sitting parked by the roadside once, terribly depressed and afraid about my daughter's illness and what was going on in our family. When out of nowhere, a car came along down the highway with a license plate that bore on it the one word out of all the words in the dictionary that I needed most to see exactly then. The word was trust. What do you call a moment like that? Something to laugh off as kind of a joke? Well, I'm willing to believe it was an epiphany. The owner of the car turned out to be, as I suspected, a trust officer in a bank. And not long ago, having read an account, I wrote of the incident somewhere, and he found out. He found out where I lived, and one afternoon brought me the license plate itself, which is propped up on a bookshelf in my house to this day. It's rusty around the edges and a little tattered and battered, but it also is a holy, holy relic, one of the most important I've ever seen. Gratitude helps us track success, to notice the right in our lives. If you've ever watched a baby learn something, you'll understand what I mean. Learning to walk, she stands, puts out one foot, and boom, down she goes because her balance was not right. Instead of berating herself for not making it, getting angry, or blaming the floor or her shoe, she simply realizes that it did not work because the foot was too far out and tries again. She just keeps trying and trying, discarding what does not work without obsessing on it. And she incorporates what seems to work until she can walk, fall, 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 walk, fall, fall, walk, walk. As we grow older, however, we get schooled in our mistakes. We learn to focus on what's not right, what is lacking, missing, inadequate, and painful. Enter gratitude. Gratitude is powerful stuff. This feeling returns us to our natural state of joyfulness when we notice, where we notice what is right, not what is wrong. 300 young people were at a church conference and they'd slept in dormitories and stayed up half the night. thrown each other into the lake, and done all the things young people do when they're together in large groups. The keynote speaker was from a church in Haiti. He was there to tell American youth about what life was like in that desperately poor nation. He spoke of Haiti's many orphans, of the difficulty hospitals have in handling the volume of indigent cases, of the, explosive political situation. These American kids had to listen hard to understand him, for English was not his native tongue. But they were quiet and attentive, and he got a standing ovation when he finished. Whoops and yells and whistles from his appreciative audience of young Americans. Later after dinner, it was time for games. One of the games was an egg toss. You toss a raw egg back and forth, hoping not to be the one in whose hand it breaks. The Haitian priest excused himself. To his American colleagues, he quietly explained why he could not participate. He could not watch an egg broken for fun when his own young people sometimes go hungry. What are some of the gifts of gratitude? It can make us feel young. It certainly can make us feel good. Gratitude promotes good health. It eradicates worry. The attitude of gratitude draws people to us. It's an antidote to bitterness and resentment. It cures perfectionism. It can release us from gimme, gimme, gimme syndrome. Gratitude keeps us current, right in the moment. It opens our hearts. It spawns kindness and generosity. It joins us to life. Gratitude connects us to spirit. It opens us to moments of grace. Some of you remember the book Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. I read. Whenever people ask me about having children or not having children, I never tell them what to do, Morrie said, now looking at a photo of his eldest son. I simply say, there's no experience like having children, that's all. There's no substitute for it. You cannot do it with a friend. You cannot do it with a lover. And if you want the experience of having complete responsibility for another human being and to learn how to love and bond in the deepest way, then you should have children. So would you do it again? Mitch asked. I glanced at the photo. Mitch glanced at the photo. Rob was kissing Morrie on the forehead, and Morrie was laughing with his eyes closed. Would I do it again, he said to Mitch. Looking surprised, Mitch, I would not have missed that experience for anything. Gratitude is a simple power. It'd be so easy to slip into making all kinds of Pollyannish generalities that would appear meaningless and boring. And this I do not intend to do, and hope I haven't. Since gratitude is both an attitude and a practice, we accept the idea that it'll take time to integrate it into our lives, maybe a lifetime. Sarah Van Brecknaw, in her book, Simple Abundance, a Day Book of Comfort and Joy, offers this. She offers a wonderful tool to assist us in integrating the practice of gratitude into our daily lives. And I use this in my work at the detention center. She suggests that it could change the quality of our lives beyond belief. The tool is a daily gratitude journal, a special journal book she's purchased for this purpose. It sits beside her bed, and each night as she prepares for sleep, she writes down 5 things that she's grateful for about that day. Some days, she says, her list is filled with amazing things. Most days, it's filled with just simple joys. Other days, crummy ones. She cannot find 5 things she's grateful for, so she resorts to the basics. I'm alive, my husband, my daughter, my dog, my cat, my home, my friends, the comfortable bed I'm about to get into, the blue sky, the starry night, the day is over. She reminds each of us that real life is not always going to be perfect or go our way, but the recurring acknowledgement of what is working in our lives can help us not only survive, but surmount our difficulties. This from Reverend Jane Parsons. As difficult as it may be, we cannot wait until everything is going well to practice gratitude. We cannot wait until there's no war, no poverty, no injustice, no terrorism. In other words, we cannot wait until all is well, until we're content and safe and secure. In fact, gratitude can be an act of defiance, a conscious decision to accept what is taking place in our lives and in the world as they are, and to choose to say thank you anyway, saying, yes, I know this life is not all that I hoped, all I wanted, but I can find a way to see goodness in it anyway. The author, Melody Beattie, has anybody heard of Melody? She's a wonderful codependent writer. I have her book beside my bed because I'm a recovering codependent. And she writes, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Be grateful. Be grateful. Probably the best thing you can do. So be it.